So next up we have Dave Eustace from Aaron Purcell's stable. I think most people know who David is. He's been the right-hand man for Kieran Maher and now Aaron Purcell at Caulfield. We know him quite well. I've asked David to come and talk to us today. Aaron's generally on a family day on Sundays, whereas Dave doesn't get a day off. He works 7 days a week. But really Dave has been the driving force behind that stable. Even when Kieran's taking all the accolades, Dave's who's in the stable, Kieran's off gallivanting. So we really appreciate his time today, and there's Annabelle and Brian here from the stable as well, so thank them for coming and just chatting to the people. So we've got a few hard questions for you, Dave. Actually, firstly, just give us a bit of a background of who you worked for before you went to Kieran. It was Moody and Snowden.
I was originally from England, and my old man trained a few back home, and I worked for a trainer called Roger Berry for a few years in England, and brought a couple of horses down to Australia 3 years ago now, and with a view to always staying here, and met Moods and had a chat with him and worked with him for a year, which was great. I'll probably still be working for him now if he's still training, and sadly he's not, so I went to Sydney and worked for Sony for a year, and I've been with Kieran for about 18 months.
Brief stint with Moody in between? Peter?
Yeah. With Moody. Oh, I did a year with Moods. Went up to Sydney as well for a month. He had a stable up there which folded sort of, relatively soon. About 2 months before he then, had his licence suspended. So I sort of always planned to do a year in Melbourne and then a year in Sydney. So I did a year in Stone, which was good.
Okay, so Columbia first off. He's just finished his prep. 8 starts, he had 2 wins and 3 placings during that prep. What did you feel you learned about him during the prep?
We learned to at Nugent, ride a winner, which was it was a big thrill for everyone actually. He's been with us for probably about as long as I've been with Kieran, so it was a really good day, and there's a lot of owners there that are here today, so it was really a great day. And he's been very consistent, hasn't he? Won a lot of money, plenty of money, paid for his prep. It took us a while to work him out. And he sort of kept maturing and held his condition really well throughout the prep, and kept turning up and running well. So, 12, 14, he's going to be competitive, at that level, and he's earned a good break now. He can have six weeks off and come back probably sort of back end of autumn into winter's his level with a bit of cut on the ground, and he'll win races again.
Yeah, he actually seemed to improve in condition through the prep. Was there anything you changed while he was in the stable, eating sort of patterns or anything else that sort of contributed to that?
To be honest, I think we bugged it up early on, and we thought he was quite an early horse. We ran very early on, didn't we? He was a 2-year-old, and I think we had him all wrong, and we just kept him very fresh and trained him very light, and as a result was able to have 8 runs in a prep, which is a good number, and did very little work in between, and he seemed to sort of thrive on that, and as you say, continue to mature and strengthen up. So we're hopeful that he'll develop again, and he's in for a good campaign next time round and give everyone a lot of fun.
Will we see? Chestnut mare now, 4-year-old mare. She took a huge jump in the winter, winning a maiden and running second in the rare final. What sort of rough plans have you got sort of for her in her prep?
Yeah, she obviously raced really well in winter. Sort of mind of that, cutting the ground maybe to her liking, but as they get older and a bit stronger, they can handle firmer going a bit better. So she's had a good break, which is always the plan. Has come back much stronger for her, hasn't she? And she's still a way off, but we're sort of very hopeful that she'll win in town, do a bit for her pedigree, and get over a bit of ground. We've always felt she might get 2,000. She showed a really good turn of foot when she won a maiden and when she was second. So, you know, 2,000. We won't rush to get up to that trip, but you know, she's quite a well-bred filly, and you're always looking for a bit of black type, and we feel she might be up to that. So, whether it's here or in Adelaide or a bit further down the track. The space her runs, she won't need a lot of racing. She's quite natural, but gets herself quite fit at home. So 3-4 weeks between runs, and hopefully we can give her a longish prep.
You mentioned to me that she's, well, we know she's a filly that's tied up before previously. And this morning when we came out to see her, you were sort of talking about keeping her moving quite regularly to get over those issues, to sort of manage it. Can you just explain that a bit for us?
Yeah, so tying up, a lot of fillies can do it, a lot of sort of immature fillies can, all horses can, but it tends to be fillies, and it's essentially like us getting cramped in layman's terms, and you just have to keep them moving. So she does something every day. She doesn't have a lot of, what we'd say, heat in her food. She doesn't eat a lot of grain. You know, you're not smashing her with carbs. She's on lettuce and on carrots, and given quite light work. She's not. You want to keep them as relaxed as you can. And as a young horse, she was quite a hot chestnut filly. She's a bit of a madam, and that was causing it as well. And it's just one of those things that now we're on top of. It's not an issue, but it can affect them if they happen to tie up sort of prior to a race. So you know, we're aware of that now. And, essentially, yeah, you just got to keep their muscles moving and hope their enzymes are at the right level. Solstar,
she's had a bit of a stop-start career to date, but she's trialled very well, you know, in some of the trials she's been in. What sort of feel have you got for her at this stage?
Yeah, as you say, she hasn't had a smooth run in life. She had an issue behind and had a good break and ran very well first up, and you know, in hindsight we probably went to the well a bit quick and thought she'd knock off her maiden and then we could give her a break, and she ran a bit flat, which was our fault. She's had a really good break with a view to getting her up in this time of year. She hasn't grown, she's filled out. She looks a short, sharp filly. It's been very natural, as you say, in her trials, and was very natural first up. So 1,011 should come to hand very quick, and I think you know, be hopeful that she'll knock off her maiden first or second time of asking this prep. And she's sort of hard to get a gauge on. We try not to work her too hard and find out what's under the bonnet, and just to leave that for race day. So where she'll end up, I'm not sure, but she'll certainly win her maiden, and then you know, how she comes through that and how she handles her racing. We'll see how far we get this prep, but whatever she does again, I think this prep there's more to come, because she's taken a bit of time to work out life and mature. Yeah.
So she had an issue with her pelvis that sort of occurred twice now. Is that a common injury? And what's your experience with horses sort of recovering 100% for an injury like that?
It is yeah, a very common injury. Stress fractures, young horses, you know, unfortunately they can come up quite often. And yes, they come back from it very well as long as you give them the right amount of time. It's, you know, it's a bit like us getting shin splints or you know, the green stick fracture. It's not a break, but it's basically them telling us that they're not quite ready and they need a bit of time in the paddock. So they can bounce back from it very well, and I'm sure there's been good horses down the track that have had them and had that 3 months off, and you know, she just needed a bit more time than most. She's been given it now, and you know, I'm sure we'll get her back on track and the races are winning.
We've got the 2-year-old Foxbridge colt. She's just finishing up a prep. He is just finishing up a prep at Caulfield. We gave him a bit of time to mature after the sale without putting any pressure on him. How's he been in the stable for this prep? Has he been a quick learner? Has he handled the stable experience well?
He nearly killed me on Monday. He's a bit of a boy. But he has done really well. We went up and saw him quite a long time ago now, and he wasn't a mature horse then. And he really has, he's grown a lot, and has still got, you know, he sort of looks halfway there. He's up behind, there's loads of growing to do, and he hopefully will have his nuts out, but not sure what everyone feels about that. But I definitely recommend it. But other than that, which is easily fixed up, obviously he's a nice horse who's got an action and looks like he's going to get over a bit of ground. Yeah, as I say, he's an efficient moving sort of horse, and actually for the first time on Caulfield he's picked up stuff really quick. He's done everything right, and seen all the tracks, and it has been very new for him, but he's handled it very well and hasn't missed a beat. But he's done enough now and can have another break and an operation. He'll develop into a really nice horse as a 3-year-old, but he'll be a work in progress. He's not going to probably be in the stable a lot in the next sort of 4 or 5 months. But winter and into a 3-year-old career, he really has actually, he's developed into a nice stamp of a horse who wasn't expensive, and I think as a 3-year-old it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we will give him that operation. You've actually ridden him in his track work. Do you get a better feel for horses when you're riding them than watching them from the tower? Or is it the same sort of feel?
Yeah, I think you can. You know, Annabelle and Brian and myself, we all try and sit on them, and I think you can get a gauge on particularly with their action, what sort of trip they'll get out over. Ground, you know, what sort of ground that handle is harder to work out, but I think just their movement and their brain, you can work out quite well. You know, where they'll end up and how early they'll be. The Russian Romeo sat on quite early on, and we sort of identified him as a horse who was very mature, but probably a little bit heavier. We'll get on to him, but you know, that's why we sort of pulled stumps early and gelded him, because we thought he would come up early, and that's hopefully worked out well. But yeah, I think if you have a sit on them, you can get a bit of an idea as to where they'll end up.
We've got the Sebring filly, 2-year-old filly. She's back at Cavallino now in pre-training. During the week we got a video update from Justine Hales out there. She was working in with the jaw reins on, which helps their head carriage. Is this commonly used sort of piece of equipment, and how long do you use it for, and how does it improve them?
Yeah, Kieran's sort of developed his pre-training off a number of different people that he's worked with and for, and also himself. He got a farm out at Pakenham there's no canter or gallop there. There's a big indoor arena and a treadmill there, and the treadmills to get the sort of miles into their legs. And we've got 2 or 3 very good riders run by Justine Hells, who do dressage work with them, and just to get them to use themselves properly and make the right shape, tuck their head in, so that they're using their back, their top line, and the draw reins held that. You know, they come in looking very well, and muscles there in the right place and well conditioned, but also the treadmill gets the miles into their legs without weight on their back as well. So it's been something that Kieran's developed over a few years, and seems to be working very well. So it's common that she's had them on. Young horses, old horses, they all have it, and they seem to come in with a really good base, all the young horses have it, and she seems to have responded well to that.
She's had a couple of preps in at Caulfield, and the pics seem to show that she's put on good condition and building strength. What sort of impression has she given you so far?
Yeah, she looks terrific now. She's, you know, like most of the 2-year-olds, it's a really young horse. There was plenty of improvement to come, and I think there's still further improvement to go. She looks physically ready now to do a bit more. She's probably in that bracket where she may or may not get to a jump out, just depending on how she responds to a bit faster work. You know, they all sort of side on looking at them on the ground. You all say, oh, they might get to a jump out, but when you give them a bit more work this time of year, some will go a bit sore and some won't. So she's probably in that bracket if she handles all the work and Bones handle it all, and we don't get shins or anything. She could have a little jump up for experience, but the way she's improved from her last prep out in the paddock, another good break will benefit her. And tend to try and get those fillies in work in winter because they don't tend to spell that well. Sort of June, July when it's very wet and cold. So that would be the plan, give her a good break through the autumn and then have her back in work in winter for a bit more experience.
And finally, we've got Russian Romeo. So we're all pretty excited about his debut next weekend. When you have a horse who's actually debuting, do you have a feel of what you're going to expect, or is it a matter of you're still not sure what's going to happen once the pressure goes on in the race?
I think it's an easy answer, but it depends on the horse. With him, he's not that easy to gauge because he's just very laid back. He's not a brilliant worker, but he's just handled everything very well. He's a real pro. Almost pro is the wrong word. He's so like he's got blinkers on Saturday, and probably wouldn't necessarily be our style, but like physically he's ready and he's always galloped very well, and we just pop the blinkers on to see if he'll jump and travel and be a bit sharper, and it seems to have really helped without him overdoing it. I don't think he'll ever overdo it. He eats, he sleeps, and he does his work, which is what you're looking for in a racehorse, and he just has handled everything great. So the 1100 will suit more than the 1000. The way the race lands, I think it'll be quite a hot race. There'll be people who want to go there and win and maybe have a fresh and looking towards the horse and 2-year-old races, and there'll be trainers looking to win and go to the Magic Millions, which that's the dream, obviously. Excuse the pun. Yeah, thanks. But Mark will have a sit on him on Tuesday. He hasn't ridden him yet, but he trialled really nicely the other day, and going on trial form, which was a bit loose. He trialled behind a nice horse, Tony McAvoy's. It's 2 from 2 now, which I always forget his name. Run now, on the Myrmidon play. So we're really happy with him. Quite excited by his debut. If he's beaten, I would stress that it's not his, it's by no means his end goal. He hasn't been revved up, he's just got there on ability and attitude, and there'll be improvement over more ground and more time. But I'd be disappointed if it didn't run very well.
So you sort of mentioned he's not a natural sort of 2-year-old in what you've seen so far. How is he sort of, can you get a feel for how he compares to other 2-year-olds you've raced sort of pre-Christmas?
I think he's our only runner. Another year's. Last year, I think we had 3 2-year-old winners. One was Jukebox, who was just very, very natural, required no galloping or training really. He was a horse that came to hand extremely quick. And Merchant Navy was the other, I think, who wasn't actually that natural. He's not dissimilar in that he was a bit dumb, a bit thick, and required a bit of training and a bit of education. So he's an anomaly in that if you told someone walking around the place as a 5-year-old gelding, you'd believe it, because he never sweats, nothing ever phases him. He's got great lungs, he pulls up good in the wind. So, as I say, he's just not that easy to get a guide off. Where he'll end up, I'm not sure. But everything we've thrown at him, he does, but he does just enough. I don't think he's ever going to burst clear in a race. I hope I'm wrong, but that's sort of what his work sort of suggests. So. Look, everything that he's worked with, and he's worked with a couple of older horses that go okay as well, and he's measured up to them. So we're very hopeful that if he draws a gate, he'll do everything right in the run and run well.
Have you actually sat on him in his work and ridden him?
Rowan was a very young horse. When he was a colt, just going slow. I wouldn't want him on my back going forward to him now. We'll put someone a bit lighter on, but yeah, he always moved well, and he's got a big buff head on him, and he's sort of a bit like that. He sort of gets around the place, just strolls around fairly nonchalantly, and yeah, we always liked him from day one. We had a sold him very early and liked him, and as I say, that's when we sort of said to you that he's a nice horse. It just could get a bit heavy, and we'll go him now, and we could have a nice 2-year-old, and hopefully that's the case.
You know there's a sling if you can keep a colt between you and Anthony. You can keep one as a colt. There's a big sling coming your way. Thanks, Dave.